To understand what happened and whether other communities across the Himalayas could face a similar threat, we're joined by Umesh Haritasha, Professor of Geosciences at the University of Tayson. Professor, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it. So a giant glacier collapse is being blamed for the devastation. I'm wondering if that adds up for you as well, because we know of at least one geologist who is struggling to explain the massive amounts of water that flowed down the river, even if you factor in that glacial collapse.
Thank you for having me. Yes, you are absolutely right. There are some questions that are still to be answered. So to back up, I think what we understand at this point in time with some certainty, we have a pretty clear idea of what happened right at the source, which means that a piece of mountainside gave way at about 5,200 meters and fell a vertical kilometer into a river valley. That part we are very clear at this point in time. How much was the ice and how much was the rock in that part isn't clear. So the best current understanding is that this was mostly rock carrying a piece of glacier down with it, and it hit the valley floor, picked up river water, sediment, and trees, and became a fast-moving slurry that ran down the Bhotikoshi River. So this is a ice rock avalanche is how we are describing. But you are right. The amount of water that we have seen in these footages really doesn't explain the kind of mountainside that falling into the river. So there are a couple of hypotheses that folks are working on, our group and the group that ad hoc scientific community that has gotten together, is it could be a blockage of river for some period of time. This could be couple seconds, couple minutes, we don't know yet. So I want to be careful in explaining that, but that might explain some portion of the water that we have seen downstream.
Okay.
The other possibility, and again, this is...
So please continue.
Now, the other possibility, and again, this is realm of possibilities, is that there could be additional ice in the river valley from previous avalanches that might have been picked out by this flood.
Okay, Professor. So that also raises a question of whether anyone could have seen this coming. Was the warning system not good enough, or did this disaster unfold faster than the system could cope with?
Well, to be honest, this is the magnitude of this disaster is something that unfathomable, and there is no way any warning system, the conventional warning system that we have, would have allowed folks to climb 3, 4, 5-story high areas in a time. What we really need to do is use this as a lesson and think about how do we want to make sure that these areas are safer, meaning that scientists have the tools to understand the areas which have a high risk or high likelihood of failure. Can we pinpoint those areas? Can the policy and decision makers get together with scientific community to then think about what happens in that area? And if there is a building or infrastructure in that area, can we put together a much more modern a warning system, whatever that nature of that warning system might be, to make sure that it is activated when the real need occurs?
Professor, were you personally studying this particular glacier or glacial conditions in the affected region as well? What exactly do we know about the changes which I imagine have been taking place?
Yeah, so our group has been studying glaciers in this area for about 25 plus years now. And we have visited this area, in this general area for several times in last 20 or so years. And this is not the first time we have seen a flood in this region as well. There has been historically, there are a couple incidents that has happened, some associated with the glacier itself, some are other monsoon related. So we have seen issues in this area and wider all across the Himalayan Hindu Kush mountain region. What we could do going forward is to think about how the warming pattern in the area, the climate change in the area is attributing to these these mountain changes, specifically the permafrost. So think about these mountains where water that are in the cracks which are frozen, they work as a glue, and as the climate changes, as the weather gets warmer, these glue is actually melting, and as a result we are putting these mountain sides, not just the glacier anymore, melting glacier, but the rock itself, the permafrost thawing is putting that into a greater danger. So we need to look at all of those aspects going forward. And it's right that at the beginning, whenever this incident happens, our thought goes towards the glacier, but there are other kinds of hazards that are also emerging from this incident.
Okay, Professor, the danger isn't over yet. Just how destructive could a second flood be, and what would this mean on the ground?
Yeah, this is the most worry that the community, at least the scientific community, is talking about, is that this danger is not over. As we heard from your reporting earlier, that there are lakes forming. So again, whenever there is a large scale of sediment that are filled in the valley, it's obvious that some of those sediments are blocking the natural path of the river. And as a result of that blockage, the river is ballooning, and behind that blockage and creating this artificial or temporary dam. And when that dam bursts out, this is a secondary issue that we all face into. Remember, this area is already devastated. Any additional flood can actually change that whole risk equation to a greater degree. So yes, that is a real worry at this point in time.
Professor, to your point about the need for coordination and international, I guess, an international effort, the diplomat is making the case that this catastrophic flood is a warning about the rapidly destabilizing cryosphere. I admit I just learned that word. That's the water ice that forms, the Earth, and this requires something that transcends political borders, requires the coordination that you were just talking about. Do you have further thoughts on how this can be done?
Yes, so you are absolutely right, and I'm glad you are raising that point, because that sometimes doesn't get through in the same way, especially right after this event. We are about 48 hours into this incident. The glacier or the mountain hazards doesn't care about the political boundary. It does not care about the policies of one country or one small province. What we need to think about is the transboundary issues. So we have done a lot of work. Our team has looked into this for some time now. What we really recommend at this point in time is folks need to get together, not from one country or one side of the border, but broader area, and look into this issue from a holistic perspective and see what policies do we need to think about that can make sure the communities are safer. Infrastructure can still be built, but infrastructure needs to be built in a right way and in both sides of the border, all sides of the border, from every perspective. So transboundary issues sometimes doesn't take, maybe talked about right when the moment happens, but after that, everybody gets together within their own country, and we need to look past that, especially in this new climate change world.
Understood. Makes complete sense. Professor, we do have to leave it there for now. Thank you so much for talking to us. Umesh Haritasha is Professor of Geosciences at the University of Dayton.